3. Okay, good
All right.
afternoon, and welcome to the Dr. Kennedy Podcast. The Dr. Kennedy Podcast is sponsored by the Daniels Foundation for Impact Investment and Development. That's the Daniels Foundation for Impact Investment and Development. And guess what, folks? We have a nice tree here today. We have Mr. Alex Bostic. Alex is an international artist of world renown. And how you doing, Alex?
Hey, how you doing, Ken? Dr. D from NYC. My boy.
That's my man. Alex and I worked together a little bit at VCU together, and good friend of mine. And thank you for doing this, Alex. I appreciate the support.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Go ahead. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's say, what you got to say? Let's say hello to folks. What do you have to say? What's going on in your life?
Well, hello. I'm in Mississippi. So Ken came by about a month ago. Treat him to some Southern hospitality. But in reality, I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
And I've been here for 10 years, but I've been in Virginia for like 28 years, just about. I think you and I came in together, didn't we?
We did.
Came in the same
year. Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah. But Dr. D found a way of retiring, and I didn't. He got the hell on out.
You're getting that check. I'll take that check. Check is nice.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get mine in 2 years, man. I'm just having too much fun, to tell you the truth.
Right.
So here I am. I'm an artist, a faculty member, teacher, educator, and mentor. These are the things that really drives me.
Right. So let's jump into some of that. So, Alex, I'm on a low battery. If I have a little technical difficulty, well, if I cut off, I'll come back to you. I'll come back with a juice battery, but we'll put the hour together. But it might be, 2 pieces here, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's okay.
Might be a part A and a part B. Let's get to part A in.
Yeah.
So, thank you for agreeing to do the interview. And can you talk about your background, your formal education, and how prepared you for the world of art?
Okay, well, my background is that most of the time it started like when I was younger. New York City has a very incredible program because they have the gifted and talented program through the whole K through 12 system.
Okay.
And if you are interested in academics, which I was in the gifted. But then at the same time I had talent, so they put me in the talent. So I was both gifted and talented. So they both sort of cultivated both ends of the spectrum that of interest that I had as a young boy. So then, they had Saturday art schools at the Pratt Institute. So I went to that. But in the 7th grade, I ran into my lifelong mentor, and she started giving me private lessons. And, I also went to the High School of Art and Design. And then I went to a number of prestigious art programs that sort of got me where I am today.
Okay. All right, cool. So Andrew, I didn't even know some of that. So, I know for me, my family had a big impact on me. Can you talk about your family impact, your formative years, what person or persons were important in your life, and how things have come together for you?
All right. Well, one thing is that my family just weren't really happy that I decided that I wanted to be an artist. So it was this ongoing struggle between my mom and my dad. They were very, very concerned. Because they really didn't know the path. They had no idea. They had no history in the family. And I was very, very defiant that that's what I was going to become. And it all started when I was 7. At 7 years old, you asked me what I want to be, I would tell you I'm going to be an artist. Most people, parents would laugh. They were, that's cute, that I'm doing these pictures. And they just like, he's going to change his mind and make an adult decision.
Okay.
And when I got into high school, this is kind of strange. I had asked my mother, to give me, or my dad, to give me permission to take the test for the High School of Art and Design.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, you need to take the test for Brooklyn Tech, which is for engineering.
Oh, okay.
So I said, okay, I'll take both of them. So then in my mind, I thought I had a choice. So the first test that came up was a test for Brooklyn Tech. I took the test and I got in, So now the test for art and design came up, And I said, okay, can you sign these papers for me to take the test for high school of art and design? They said, you don't need to, you got into Brooklyn Tech. That's where you're going. I said, no, I want to take the test for art and design. They said, Alex, you understand you already got into Brooklyn Tech. You don't need to take an exam for an art school.
Right.
And I said, but I want to. They said, well, we're your parents and, we're in control of your destiny. And I said, how? How can you be in control of my destiny?
Right.
They said, that's the way it is. I said, no, I want to be an artist.
Right.
They said, then why you took the test to Brooklyn Tech? I said, because you asked me to.
Right.
I don't want to go to Brooklyn Tech.
Right.
So I went to Ms. Kinzu, who was my partner in crime, and I convinced her to sign the papers or forge my mom's name so I can take the test.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the test of art and design and I got in. And
Good.
so that's where I went. My parents didn't know I was going.
Right.
They had like no clue where I was at. And as long as I was getting A's, they were fine. I would like take the paper, fold it to where just the grade so they wouldn't see where the school was from. And they see the A's and then right near the bottom, they sign their name. I'm good.
Right.
Then after the second year, going into my third year, I got 1 C, right? Did the same thing. They signed it. I was good, except my parents were concerned. They said, oh, he's going to be an engineer. He got a C. Let's go to Brooklyn Tech to see what we could do to help him.
Ah.
They went to Brooklyn Tech, and Brooklyn Tech said, no, we don't have an Alex Bostic. They said, he's been going here for 2 years. He's your A student. He's
Right.
honor roll. He's doing,
No,
no.
funny.
My stepdad said, I think I know where he's at. And I'm in the cafeteria, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and somebody said, I think those people by the door is looking at you. I didn't turn around. I said,
oh,
nobody
man.
knows I'm here. I said, you don't understand. My parents don't know I'm here. They said, yeah, these are old people. I said, there's no old people that know I'm here. But they're staring right at you. They're staring at you. So I turned around. It was my mom and my dad. They pointed at me. Because, adults weren't allowed in the cafeteria. They weren't allowed in the cafeteria.
That's funny.
And I got through the door, and then my stepdad said, what are you doing here? I said, I go here. What do you mean go here? I said, I go here.
Oh, God.
They said, but we didn't sign the papers for it. I said, I know. They said, but we told you that you couldn't be an artist. I said, but you can't tell me that.
Right.
I'm becoming an artist. That's what I'm going to become.
Right.
And they said, well, how come you don't want to be an engineer? I said, I told you 2 years ago.
Right.
I didn't want to be an engineer. I wanted to be an artist. I told you I was being an artist since I was a little kid. Right. And so they said, so you went behind our back? I said, yeah, I did. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to be whatever I want to become. Right. So they said, so you think that you're responsible and you can be whatever you want? I said, pretty much. This is a conversation we had in the hallway.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what we're going to do is we're not going to have anything to do with you. And then he walked away.
Wow. So you was on your own.
I was on my own. All my decisions was my decisions to make.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Yeah. Let's keep building on that. So you're a handsome, charismatic guy. I kind of know you got a little swag, from personal experience. So how you get along with your friends and classmates when you were growing up, and were you popular or quiet?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, high school, my teachers didn't like me.
Okay.
My teachers hated me. I rolled the crap out of my teachers. I rolled them. If I didn't think they were doing a good enough job, I let them know.
Okay.
And if I was having a difficult,
so give me an example. What do you mean you rolled your teachers? I
was having problems with algebra, right? And I just couldn't grasp it. So I told my teacher, I said, you need to help me out with algebra. And she says, well, maybe you need to study harder. And I said, well, maybe you need to teach better. I said,
Right.
because I think I'm an intelligent kid.
Right.
And I think I should grab something. I said, there's something missing in your teaching that I'm not getting. And I said, I'm a good student.
Right.
And she said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, let's go over everything. Oh, she didn't like that. She said, you
Right.
think I'm going to go over everything with all these kids? I said, no, they're pretty stupid. I said, but you need to go over with me.
Right.
And made them work.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they worked, and they were glad to see me go.
I bet. Shoot.
And I did the same thing in college. My college, in art class, they would have these breaks, 10-minute breaks. And I told my teacher, I said, you don't get a break. I'm not paying you to get a break.
I'm not paying you.
Right. I do. I pay their salary. I said, I'm here because I pay you.
Right.
Right. So you need to stay here and teach me something. The break is for the other kids. They want to take their break, fine. I said, we're not taking a break.
Okay. That's interesting. That kind of tells how intense you were. Okay. I appreciate those. Okay. So, so staying on high school for a while. So, what are some of your fondest memories? Did you date?
Yeah, I kind of did. My parents didn't really allow me to date, but I had a girlfriend.
You had a girlfriend, okay?
Yeah, but we didn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. Right. But she was a foster child, so she couldn't go anywhere either. So she was perfect.
Okay. And I guess back then you were hanging out in New York City with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
What was that like? So what was like hanging out with a girl in New York City in 1960s and kind of thing? What was that like?
Yeah. Well, New York, there's a million things to do. That's a good thing, you know? And my brother called me the transfer king. I would get my token,
right,
and I would transfer my way all over the city. Right. Because you can get a transfer for a transfer, and I'm back home, on one token, right?
Right. You can do that. I get it. Yep.
Yeah. And so I would take girls out on dates like that. I said, yo, make sure you get your transfer, babe. You got to get your transfer. We transfer all over the city. But I would do things like go to gallery openings and then artist house openings in Soho and the Village. Mm-hmm. That's where I hung out. I just loved the art scene as a kid.
So in high school, you go to Soho, go to art events in Soho in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was like really into the art thing. Yeah. Wow. And it was good because you got people like Andy Warhol and Keith Haring around, and they were in the paper. Artists were always in the papers.
Right.
So you hear about them. You don't hear about them as much as today, even though you have social media. You got to kind of search for them. Right. But they were like news. They were news. It was always an event, Yeah.
Right.
So the world was different then.
Gotcha. So let's jump into the art. So you're a multi-award-winning artist. Can you kind of let the audience know, talk about what some of your awards are, some of this achievement, and what this achievement means to you? And maybe what are your top three? If I say, Alex, what are your top 3 awards or top 5? What would you say? To kind of get an idea.
I got a couple of gold medals from Society Illustrators. I got some awards for outstanding achievement. My fondest award is an award that I got from the Pentagon.
Pentagon, okay, interesting.
Yeah, they gave me an award for outstanding achievement in recruiting. I recruit artists for the Air Force art program.
Really?
Coming out of the Pentagon.
That's interesting.
And that's one of my responsibilities till this day. But I go around searching for talent, and then if you become part of my team, we'll arrange to send you someplace around the world to do artwork.
Interesting. So talk about a little bit in terms of what kind of art does the Pentagon? I don't think a lot of people realize that the Pentagon uses artists. Talk about if you're able to, what kind of art does the Pentagon do?
Yeah. Most of it is Air Force. I did stuff for the Navy. Any branch of the service. But people don't know, if you go to the Pentagon, there's original artwork all over the walls of the Pentagon, and in the office.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's like a museum.
Wow.
And people always ask me, why would the military art is extensive, it's big, right?
Hmm.
The Navy Art Museum has their own collection. They have a museum,
Wow.
right? The Marines have a museum. The Army has a museum. The only one that don't have a museum yet is the Air Force, and they're working on that. But because of budget restraints, they
Right.
haven't did one. The largest art collection in the world belongs to the United States Army.
Wow. Isn't that something
The second largest art collection in the world is the Air Force.
interesting? That's kind of mind blowing. You think about it, because they're all over the world, right? And I guess
Yeah, they're all over the world, and you
they don't
got
want their,
and
they just don't want their people in these mundane places. They want to be
yeah,
inspired.
right. So there's
If
artwork in
anybody,
offices,
if anybody needs to be
homes.
inspired, it's the military.
Right, right. And they really get excited that somebody's going to show up and actually do a painting of what they do and
Right,
care about it.
right,
And the thing about it is, a painting is not like a photograph,
right,
right? You can take a photograph, you snap it, you make a print of it, and you can send it out, or you can send it out. The fact that I took months to paint this painting
right,
means something, that this guy really cares about us and what we're doing and what we're about.
right. That's cool. Let me use a second to plug your website. The those who want to take a look at Alex's artist is at Alex's name, alexbostic.com. That's
Mhm.
alexbostic.com. That's ALEXBOSTIC.com. And we don't need to go into showing Alex's art here because it's amazing. Talk a little bit more about your award. So, okay, that's one of what's another award that we can kind of.
I got like I said, gold medal. I got a lot of distinguished things from Oil Painters of America, some portrait awards, which I pride myself in,
Mhm.
and then I got another award, a military award from NASA. I
From
did a
NASA.
bunch of work. Yeah,
Yeah,
NASA. As a matter of fact, you saw one of my paintings at a gas station.
yeah,
Remember?
I have that. Well, I have that post. I had that post in my heart that your attitude is determined by your altitude.
Yeah, that's right. I did 4 posters, believe it or not.
Right. So that was my kid's room was that your attitude is determined by your altitude.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of,
And
I
that went
remember
all
that.
over the country. They
Right.
sent me all over the country to promote it, and that was an honor to do work for them. And that
Right.
that was my first venture into the federal government.
Right. So let me I don't think people realize that as professors or even as artists that you get these amazing assignments that take you to other parts of the world. Can you
Yeah.
talk about some of your experience of traveling, your assignments, and what that's meant to you culturally and your mindset in terms of the work that you do?
Well, the beginning of the year, I took myself and an ex-student of mine. We went to Germany to do stuff for the Pentagon.
To Germany, wow.
And so, we were there for like a week and a half. We take notes, we take pictures, we interview people, and then we have 2 years to do the painting. So we're still working on those paintings.
Wow.
Um, they sent me to um, Germany years ago. Then the biggest thing that they sent me to Obama's last inauguration.
Yeah,
You
tell
know,
people about that. You are the guy that's doing the painting of all the people they could pick in the world. They picked Alex Bostic to do the painting of the Obama's inaugural
inauguration.
inauguration.
Yeah.
That's quite an honor. And so talk about it. Where are you with this Obama painting? Where are you?
Well, the point is, it's still in the progress because what happened was when Obama got into his second term, Congress cut funding.
Oh, got it. All right. Well,
Right. So it's back on because Trump refunded the program.
you did okay.
Yeah. So and then that's why I wound up in Germany, but I still owe them the Obama painting. But I had shot all the reference. I went to inauguration. I've never been to an inauguration before.
So
But then we're like front line, right on the street as the barricade comes. I mean, we had full access.
wow. So talk about that.
So
So what did you draw when you were at the bond? Because I know you do the kind of your. I don't want to give away your secrets, but what did you see? What impressed you that you actually captured in your mindset that you're going to use for the painting? What did something
well,
that
my
someone else
painting's
might
gonna
not?
be
Because I know that you look deep inside people's. You look inside when you paint. You look inside people. So what did you
yeah.
see inside the Obamas?
Well, my thing was my image that I'm going to paint is the depiction of them when they got out of the car and walked the parade.
Walked away.
You know, the walk the parade. They would go into the security booth and
Oh,
they get out
gotcha.
of the vehicle,
Right,
And I thought that was wonderful. That's when everybody went absolutely insane,
right.
And to capture that moment of them coming out of the car and people just erupting is, I think that was a pivotal moment. And you got to pick your spots. You're going to do a
Gotcha.
painting. You got to
So
pick your
so
spots.
so in this painting, you'll capture them, but you'll capture the reaction of the people to them also.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wow, that's good. That's amazing that you have that kind of detail. Because just thinking this painting is going to be hundreds of people.
Forever. Yeah.
There's people for, and so I know you're gonna have detailed faces of like dot 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 dot,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I'm
So
a very,
I can't wait
yeah,
to
I'm a
see that.
very,
That'd pretty interesting. Yeah,
yeah. And my work is very detailed. So,
right. I know your work, so that'd be
yeah.
fascinating to see.
Yeah.
So okay, what about another assignment? Talk about maybe going someplace and being a culture that was difficult for you, that
Oh,
made
well,
you that
I
took
would
you out of your
say,
comfort zone a little.
well, the Navy commissioned me to do a series of paintings of the USS Comfort. And the Comfort was going through South America, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so I was there. That's a 5-week journey.
Yeah.
So I went to South America, got on the ship, and basically they didn't particularly care for me. They didn't like me.
Right.
Um, so I got into the little vehicle, and they were going from the airport to the ship.
Yeah.
And the guy mentioned to me, he says, "So you're an artist, eh?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we had this cook trying to get on this ship, and we had to turn him away, but it seemed like the Navy and the commander and the admiral want you to be on this ship, so that's the only reason you're here." And he says, "We're not going to be a lot of help to you." I said, "Who is the cook?" They said, "Oh, his name was Anthony." I
Uh,
said, "You mean Anthony Bodine?" They said, "Yeah, that's the guy."
Anthony Bourdain took on the
You
ship.
would let him on the ship? I said, "Look, I would have." I said, "You should have got him on the ship versus me." You know. So Anthony Bodine got turned down from the military, and I wind up on the ship. And they said, "Well, we got a problem. We're up in the mountains, and the Seabees need a logo on a basketball court. Can you think you can do that?" I said,
Uh,
"Yeah." I put my clothes down on the quarterdeck, and they put me in a van and took me up in the mountains. I didn't even know where my rack was, you
right.
know. But once I told them I can do it, man, I was everybody's friend,
Oh,
because I'm working with them.
right.
I'm doing stuff for them. I know what my mission was, but I said, let me help you out with your mission, and it was really community outreach. It's like, how do
Right.
you help the school? How do they were building a school out there, and they
Hmm.
wanted something to
Cool.
commemorate that they were there, and that was my job.
Right.
That's what I did.
All right. So you've had this fantastic career in art industry, and the distribution of art has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the business of art and what you see as the next big thing in the art business?
Well, the good thing about art is that the new economy is going to be the creative economy.
Hmm.
It's this inventiveness environment that the world actually needs, because um, work is done by other things and other people and machines, da da da. But you need people that can think creatively, come up with ideas, and sort of make those things happen.
Right.
And the world, from what I know, is, and people always think it's digital. I still get called for my traditional work. I don't. I can teach digital, but I don't do digital.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But a teacher is a teacher is a teacher. I can teach you anything,
Right.
but that don't mean I have to know it.
Hmm.
But the point is that these kids nowadays got to know the technical world that they're living in,
Right.
and it's more technical than they think. Because I'm trying to warn them. The
Hmm.
world is changing. It changed. When I was growing up, everything changed like every 5 years,
Right.
and nowadays everything changed every 5 minutes,
Right.
maybe less.
Yeah. True.
Um, I had a colleague of mine. She talked about. She says, "Well, did you ever think about who your competition is?" I said, "Well, when I was younger, it was like people around me. Then it became people around my region, and then it became the United States, and now it's the world.
It was probably
My competition is global. Because
right.
everybody can get to everybody.
Right.
You know, so like you were saying, like out of all the people in the world, why would somebody pick pick me up. My stepdad says the same thing. He said, out of all the people in the world, really, that's what it's about. It's about all the people in the world.
Right.
You know,
That's
that's
the
my
scope. Yeah, it's
competition.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's the reality I'm in. And as long as I'm in this business, I got to think about the world.
Well, I think you make
It's
a good
about the
point is
world.
that now our community needs to think about the world. That,
Right.
if
Right.
you want to have a furniture shop on the corner, well, you might get your
It-
product from anywhere in the world.
In the
And
world.
you're,
Right.
you're dealing with world prices, not just local prices. You may
Right.
charge a local
Right.
price, but then you will lose out to Walmart, who has a world price.
World price. That's right.
And
That's right.
so there's
And then that's why
arbitrage, right? So,
yeah, yeah. And if you're not thinking global, you lost already.
right.
In any business.
So you
And so my students got to be ready for a global world versus their classmate. I said, whatever you do, don't look at the guy next to you. He means nothing.
you like that's a good point. I used to
He's
say,
nothing. I said, you
I
can
used to say, I see a kind of professor. See, you a nice guy. I said, look at the guy next to you. He won't be there by midterm.
No, they do
Also,
not. No, they don't.
they'd be like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. Yeah.
No. This is what they at Pratt. It was 70 illustrators the year I was there, and they said, out of the 70 of you, only 2 of you will make it.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I said, man, I said, who's that other guy? Because I knew one of them was going to be me,
You always be you,
But
right?
the point, yeah. And then my business partner and I, we started a business called Illumination Studios in New York. It still exists. He owns it. And I remember talking to him. I said, Rudy, remember when Jerry Contreras told us about 2 of us making? I said,
Right.
what did you think about it? He said, I was wondering who was the other guy. He said, apparently it's you.
Well, funny you mentioned that. And my story like kind of parallels that. We were trying out for the high school basketball team my junior year, and it's like 100 guys in the room. And the coach walked up and said, welcome to tryouts. We have a good day. I'm only taking 10. And there's 100 guys there, right? Everybody like, you could hear a pin drop in the place. And I said right there, I said, you know what? I'm gonna be one of the 10. And
Yeah.
I never played my hard crawl, diving. I remember a guy was dribbling the basketball, and I dove and I caught the basketball.
That's your ball. You
It's
got
my
my
ball.
ball.
I dove, he was dribbling, and I dove from like 5 feet away and caught the ball. That's what got me on that team.
Yeah, I played high school ball too.
I know you had a little game.
I played college ball.
Yeah, what kind of player were you?
I was a playmaker. I was a thinker on the court, and
right.
my responsibility was to get the ball to where it's supposed to go.
You're a creative.
And I had a full ride in college.
Right, you told me that. Yeah, you were nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
People don't believe it, but but you got to realize, you got to realize who I grew. Yeah, I grew up with Bernard King, Lloyd Free,
right.
Fly Williams.
Right.
These guys were in my neighborhood, and I had to go on the court and play with them every damn day.
Right.
They also told me I'll never make the pros because I saw pros every day when I woke up. Right. But I knew I can get into college. I can get into college.
Like, all right, get that basketball. I'm gonna be a world-class artist.
Yeah, that's right. It was a tool. Basketball was a tool to get what I wanted.
Right.
Cool. And then that was my reality.
So now your answer, you mentioned this whole thing of digitization, and like, I know you're a commercial artist. Mm-hmm. Like you said, even though you don't do that, it amazes me that the digitization of everything, like for example, this whole thing of GIFs, this little memes and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, that's art. But it amazes me that is more than art because it expresses an emotion. Right. And art expresses emotion. Now, there was a company that only does these GIFs, and just blew my mind when this company sold for billions and billions of dollars. And someone started with essentially, it's not even a sentence, right? It's just it's an art form and expressing emotion. Somehow they conveyed that to the marketplace that, well, you need this because people want to express their emotions in letters and everything they do. That now art is in almost everyday life. So what do you think of that?
My mother, who passed away, God bless her, asked me, why is art so important?
Right.
And I said, well, I'm gonna tell you, but you're not gonna like my answer.
Right.
And this is what I told her.
Mhm.
I said, artists are creative beings. We create. We're the closest thing to God. And my mom eyes rose. She said, why? I said,
Right.
because no human being can exist without us.
That's right.
You sleep on sheets, you sleep on beds, cars, houses, art, all art-based designs and concepts. You know, everything that you do in life, an artist touched it,
Right.
right?
It's
We're
true.
a God's hand. We're God's creativity. We're God's mind. We're the closest thing as human beings that can come to God that God Himself. You
Hmm,
cannot exist without us.
I never thought of it that way. You know, I thought of it another way. Do you think my answer? Without art, of course,
Yeah.
I got to come back. I just think or take that. I agree with you, but without art, we are essentially machines.
Right, right.
And
But the
you don't
point
want
is,
to
the
be a
machine
machine.
wouldn't be.
You don't want to be a machine. You want to be creative and be able to express yourself. Without that, then it's all down to X's and
In
zeros
X's
and
and
ones.
O's.
We're more than just
Right,
zeros and ones.
right. But the thing about it is, computers wouldn't be a computer without an artist thinking it up. And when I think of art, I'm thinking about writers, poets, musicians. All those sort of creative venues create the world the way it is.
Right.
If you look at the first film of the Man on the Moon, and
Yeah.
then you look at the space shuttle, it's the same shape.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Something that like that becomes the idea of the future,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Or the fact that a man went to the moon and we made that happen, right? But it comes out of some kind of creative sort of idea,
Right.
and then human beings make that happen,
Right. Absolutely.
and so that's our responsibility,
Right.
you know.
Well,
Um,
while you're checking your phone, you go ahead and check your phone.
no, 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 no. I did. That's Kamal. He's
This
he's
is
trying to find out when I'm going to come
this is
see
a
him.
it's an informal interview. We telling folks how
Yeah,
you not rock. We rock like this.
yeah,
It's my
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Come Mississippi, get my room ready.
yeah. I got space, man. I got
I
space.
know you got space. So you and I were college professors. You were art
Mhm,
professor. I was business/finance. Can you talk
mhm,
about you know the importance of art in education in general, or the art
mhm,
education field, maybe the
mhm.
art field and the education field? I think there's two separate things.
Yeah, they are.
And the role, really more about the role. I really want to start getting into, we could talk about the college level. I like to start there first, but the role of art in education at the elementary school level and the importance of that, and that we may be missing a great opportunity in terms of entrepreneurship, shaping the mind. You said things,
Mhm.
and I don't think people really realize the impact of art per se. What's your view?
Yeah, I mean, high school level, elementary school, K through 12, art is very important to the very balance of how a human sort of interact with other humans, right?
Right,
The first hint a human being exists is a handprint on a wall
right,
or a drawing of buffaloes or a hunt on a wall, because human beings have an incredible capacity to want people to know that they've been around, that we
right.
exist,
Mm-hmm.
and art plays a big role in documenting that history of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in K through 12, those are, every kid is born knowing how to draw. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Every child, from the time they're an infant, makes marks.
Right,
They do it on the wall or whatever, but their instinct is to try to prove that they're around.
right.
And I think in the first or second grade, it gets kind of destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when kids say, well, later for this art thing, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that. And then you got the stubborn kids like myself, this art thing is fun. I'm gonna keep this thing up, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then it's about, rejection and rewards. My mother had a refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
and she took the artwork and put it on the refrigerator, and I got more of my work on that refrigerator than my brothers and sisters.
Yeah. I know where you're going with that. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an encouragement. But when I first started art, it started with my brother and I playing with matches, and and the fire department came and snatched my brother and I up, and then gave us a tour of the fire department, brought us back, and gave us paper and crayons and said, draw something. So my brother taught me how to draw a fire truck. Next day I said, we got to go to the fire station, show him these drawings. My brother said, I ain't going nowhere. So I went. So I had his drawings and I had my drawings.
Right.
I threw his drawings away.
Right.
And they put my drawing in the showcase outside of the fire station. And that struck a bell to me that my work is hung. Everybody in the community can see it. This is in Brooklyn, right? So the next day I gave him a new supply of piece of artwork, and I kept doing it until I moved out of that neighborhood. That was my gallery.
Yeah, that's inspiring. I mean, that's, what he was saying is that you're building self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
You're building a lot of things that we don't realize, that there's a lot of externalities, we'll call them, to the art that made people think that they're in there. It's more than just an activity.
Yeah, you got people that encourage me, that promote me. And, I did a talk one day when I first moved to Virginia, and I got kicked out of the school system because my job was to promote art, right? I was at VCU, and VCU School of the Arts is the premier program in the college. So I show up at this art show that I was supposed to judge the kids' work, and I was telling them the importance of art. And I said, if you want to have a very successful school program, get rid of football and promote art, dancing, writing, poetry. Man, they kicked me out.
Right. I know you're going. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. But I said, that's the only way humans can survive. Base basketball, football, those things are very short-lived, but art is like forever. You go to museums, you don't go to museums unless you go to the Football Hall of Fame, but the major art buildings in the world are art museums.
Right.
And they got decades upon decades and centuries upon centuries of mark making that human beings made.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting saying that, but it's kind of, to balance that out. Clearly, we're not going to get rid of football and basketball. So
they got rid of gladiators.
Definitely not.
They got rid of gladiators.
Right. Definitely not down south here in Florida. Shoot, that's like like saying you would kill Jesus. But we could, it should be that somehow that some smart people should get money so that we're going to finance art for a school district. That shouldn't be a lot of rich people. Enough rich people come together. Like Jeff Bezos could say, okay, I'm going to finance art in America. And give $1 billion, and write it off. Him and Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
And the impact will be amazing.
I mean, if the point is that rich people already have access to art. It's so prevalent in their lives that they don't think about it as a problem because it's not a problem. Feeding people to them is a problem. It's visible, but art is not as visible as starving people or homeless people. Right. But artists are the ones that come up with solutions for those problems.
That's right. That's interesting. But I never, I kind of knew that was true, but like today I'm hearing when I was in Sarasota, they have the Ringling Museum of Art.
Yeah, Ringling. Yeah, it's a good school.
And this guy, Ringling, Ringling Circus, all that kind of stuff. He had these billions of dollars, and he has all this art. And now he has an art museum in an art school, right?
Yeah.
But he's rich, so it's like a part. It's in terms of his life, and like you're saying, it's transparent. It's seamless, I would say. It's just seamlessly in his life, and it just happens, and he benefits from it, and he grows from it. And as you go down the class structure or income structure, as that becomes more and more seamless or barriers, right? It leads to deficiencies in terms of development and growth and
opportunities.
And opportunity. And until we actually articulate, we're articulating it, people don't start to see that, we got to do better here, and I think that's the point we're trying to make.
If you got a young kid in the ghetto that's interested in mark making, help him, give him paper. My mom would give me like the brown paper from the supermarket, from A&P grocery store and some Crayola crayon. Man, that's the spark of a career.
Right. And
You know, she didn't.
I bet you that if we just had more art, I bet you crime would go down.
It would, because everybody be busy.
Yeah.
You be busy
Well,
making pictures,
in fact, we
man.
know that, but they in New York they embraced it because graffiti became a way of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
this whole
yeah.
these graffiti artists are amazing, and
Hmm.
now these what is it when they paint the side of the bill? They call it a what's the formal word for it? Formal word when they
The
um
Oscar,
no
Academy
the
Award.
when they paint the side, or they call it something, it's a palette. The side of the building is a palette, but there's a formal word.
The mural.
The mural, yeah.
Yeah.
So they paint these murals, and now
Hmm.
they're commonplace and embraced all over urban America.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But at a
But I
time when that
remember.
wasn't embraced, it was problematic, and then they said, "Oh, let's just make them nice."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sort of falls on the grounds of tattoos and body piercing. You
Yeah,
know, those things were looked upon badly when I was growing up, and now it's commonplace, man.
right.
You know, and even business executives have piercings and body tattoos. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
and it's not frowned upon. You know, but the point is that it's a very artistic expression, and they just thought the derelicts and artists.
right.
You know, but look at us now, man. We evolved. You know,
Yeah,
we
we do
evolved.
evolve, but I'm thinking of this whole thing of like these graffiti artists. I think that's a perfect example of something that was taboo has turned to a marketplace and now opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, it's kind of like as we become more educated and more aware and
Yeah.
more conscious that, hey, maybe this is a market. It goes to what I think this next thing I like to discuss is that. So, how can art be an entrepreneurial activity in elementary school or high school level in terms of formalizing it?
I got the perfect solution. My
Clearly,
T-shirt.
we could do it informally, but
Yeah.
formalize it because once something becomes formal and standardized, then
Uh-huh.
we just cookie cutter it across the nation.
Yeah.
So how do we
Um,
do that?
Believe it or not, doing T-shirts can help. You know, my son started a T-shirt company in high school that sort of
Mhm.
really exploded. And
Right,
I don't think that was the intention. I think he just wanted to do some cool things for his friends.
right,
And but now he's an art director. He's a creative um,
right,
um, guy and a creative being. But he didn't know that. He didn't know that he was creative. None of my kids knew they were creative, but they all are in one way or another.
hmm,
But the point is that um, you have to feed them or reward them, and like say have a every school need T-shirts. They need things to promote students for education or for something like that.
hmm,
And he created a company called Intellect, and it was
hmm,
T-shirts or stuff like that for um, smart people,
hmm.
you know. And it was a hit, you know.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
If you had a yeah, if you didn't have a certain GPA, you couldn't wear his clothes.
Right,
You know. And then the debate team had clothing that they can wear. You know, the chess club had things that they can wear. You
right,
know, and then you sort of create this kind of niche market. And what you do is you find your niche market and you feed the need.
right. That's really cool. That could really be powerful if people embrace that
Yeah.
and run with it. I think.
Yeah, and then you have ceramic class in high school. They can
Right.
start selling potteries. You have printmaking or silk screen class in high school,
Hmm.
and you can do some really cool stuff that people want to see. You know, put that thing online, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook. You know, and then drive in some funds for your school and yourself.
Right. I'm sure there's some form of that going on already, but it's not formalized in terms of standardized at a level of excellence and so forth in teaching, and
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
get
Well,
into
they always have the
embroidery and
candy. Yeah, yeah, the schools have those candy drives where the kids
right,
come home
yeah,
and everybody do that for art.
right,
Create a drive for art. You know,
right,
make it deliberate, not by circumstance.
got it. Okay, let's jump to some you know bigger issues or more national issues. The Black Lives Matters movement has
Hmm.
impacted all industries and businesses.
Yeah.
How's it impact the area of your work in art industry in general?
Well, I mean, I'm getting calls. you
Uh,
know, the all of a sudden the world knows that Black people can do things because
right,
of Black Lives Matter. you know,
That's true.
and
Yeah.
everybody ignore you until the drum call or a store is burnt, say, or police cars turned over. Now they want to listen to somebody.
Right.
We were there all the time,
Right.
you know. But the point is that once that happened, it sort of created like, oh wow, there's black people here,
Right.
and we want to be heard, and
Hmm.
most human beings, like I said, from the beginning of time, want to be heard. They want to be somebody to know that they're around.
Right.
And sometimes you have to sort of do something negative for people to realize, wait a minute, you know? And but the thing about it is they are going through the art community to
Hmm.
try to get this message across. I like the painting in the streets, I like the banners, you know. I didn't even know. My son told me corporations make some of those signs. They'll go to an agency and says, we need signs that says Black Lives Matter. And I said, man, these signs look pretty cool. He said, yeah, people like us design,
Right.
you know,
Freshly
because a
done.
good
Yeah.
design have impact,
Right.
versus somebody doing it with a magic marker, right?
Right.
So then, and that sort of made me like wonder. I said, I'm really interested in Black Lives Matter, but who in the hell did those posters?
Right. I know.
Right?
Hmm.
And so art do have an impact. They're reaching out to other art, they're reaching out to artists. I know a bunch of campaigns that are going around where they're trying to have like these sort of shows of Black art, Black female artists,
Uh-huh.
and and I'm trying to get all my young artists to like say, put your work up there for this competition.
Right.
Like I told you last week, I got a call. I'm doing a children's book on Juneteenth. You know,
Right.
um, it's a children's book. It's going to take me 8, 9 months to work on it,
Hmm.
but I don't think I would have gotten the call if it wasn't for Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Because they wouldn't know to look for me.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So it's increased the demand and so forth. So therefore,
Hmm.
it's like almost like a cataclysm, or there's been a shift event of interest. So now, you know, the other side, whoever that may be, is
Hmm.
looking for black talent. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but our job is to
Now, let
keep.
me ask you a question, because in some ways, because it's art, it doesn't have to be black talent. It just has to be people who are,
No, no, it
you know,
don't because I know two prominent artists that do black figures that are white,
right. That's my
right?
point. Yeah,
And
that's
and and
interesting.
then yeah, and another interesting thing is I just heard this thing on Instagram where this guy, he's French. He unveiled a black cowboy painting, and
Yeah.
he's the premier artist for black art cowboys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
how did he get picked to do that job? How did he get
Right.
picked to be the one that's going to depict the Black West?
Right.
You
Exactly.
know,
That's really
and and
fascinating. Yeah.
and then so I called my friends who do Western art. They're African Americans, and they said the only way it's going to be depicted is through a white person. He said we'll get a shot, but that's the way they do things. They do it for Native American art. They do it for it comes through a white person. Other than that, it's not going to happen
Interesting.
because it's big money.
Right.
You know, they probably paid like 60, 80, $100,000 for that painting.
Well,
And
as you mentioned, it's an entire market, because you talk about, basically, as you said, black cowboys represent a lifestyle.
right. But the museums, all the Western museums don't have any.
I
They don't
know
have
that.
anything that depicts black art. So now they're doing catch up, but they're going to let white people catch them up.
Right.
They even call me. They need to call me. They need to call my black friends who are doing black imagery and black Western imagery.
Right. Yeah. Well, it kind of shows you. Well, it showed you that Black Lives Matter still have the way to go. That just because something comes out, like you said,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
could be a lot of it could be a lot of Black Lives Matter painted all over the world, and black people don't get the benefit of production and like
no,
the benefit of the economics of it, which is,
yeah, but that's because we don't own a lot of stuff either.
yeah, but it
We
illustrates
don't own factories, we don't own
it illustrates the
corporations.
complexity of the problem,
Right, right, right.
that you can
And
be like,
then
oh,
black people need to have more ownership,
right,
more companies, more factories,
right,
and we're capable of doing it,
right,
but we just need the capital and support.
right. Well, it's and that's just a microcosm of a lot of things in terms of business, that you walk into something for example, the other day I went to a Hispanic food store, right? And so, I walked to the register and I said, well, it's nice to know it's a Hispanic owned store here. They said, it's not Hispanic owned, it's owned by Winn-Dixie. It's like, use your Winn-Dixie card. It's like, so this Winn-Dixie's smart to know that, at least here in Florida,
that community, yeah.
Hispanic community is huge.
Yeah.
And this was a major Hispanic food store called Fresco. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I want to, like, it's got the music. I was in that jam, I to get my little salsa, get my food.
Yeah.
I want to, like, it's Winn-Dixie.
Yes.
But they captured, this is exactly what we're talking about. They captured the Hispanic market, and all those dollars are flowing out of the Hispanic community to another community. And so, you say, well, same thing with black art, to see here that all these Black Lives Matter things planned over the world, we'd probably be shocked to know that the percentage of it done by Black is probably a small percentage.
Yeah.
Which is crazy,
Yeah.
But so, we're kind of coming up on our hour here, but maybe we could discuss, like, going forward in the future. What are some of your, kind of building off that Black Lives Matter? What are some of your hopes and dreams for black artists?
Right now, I got a group of young artists that, I hope get into grad school. They're getting ready to get out in the next year or so. And, I'm just going to try to punch something out where we all can sort of start a company or put something together where, stuff comes in and we pump it out, I got the name, I got the reputation, but they got the young people got talent and they got energy, and I got to figure out a way how to funnel this talent and energy to make a business.
Right.
Hopefully with your help.
I'm on it. I'm on it. Now I started the first phase of it, which is, financial literacy. And I have my book coming out in January.
Yeah.
And you said you're gonna help me with a cover down the line.
That's right.
For after it reaches the first 1,000 sales, we can come with the special edition.
All right. Well, I'm ready for it, man. I told you that.
Right. So I mean, I'll send you the book in January when it comes out. That way you'll get the, I know you'll read it, and and that's kind of interesting. That, I mean, kind of piggybacks the whole thing they were talking about is that art touches everything. You kind of, you're doing the book, it's art cover. Writing is art.
Yeah, right.
Son, as you were talking about your sons, I was thinking of my son. And when Taylor was growing up, I dreamed of having a basketball player. I ended up with Taylor.
Yeah.
And at the early years, this kid was like looking at Barney, memorize the dances, be like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, he was who he was, man.
I look at my wife and tell her, like, did you see that? She said, what are you talking about? I said, watch this. I go play. I said, go get a whole different dance. I said, Taylor, look at this. All right, now do it. You look at it. See? You see?
He can do it. Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah, that's a gift.
I don't believe it. Do it again. Go get a whole different dance. I had all these Barney dances, different dances, like 100 different, Barney had 100 different dances. And he would do it,
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Like, we see something like that and say, okay, now what am I going to do with this? So it goes back to
yeah, that's what you do.
You embrace it.
You embrace it.
I was traveling all these dance shows, like, they'd be like, what are you doing here? Like, you doing at the ballet, Ken? You with my son. Talking about.
My son's right up there. He's on the stage.
That's my son. Oh.
Yeah.
We're like, he's 5. It's him and 100 girls.
Yeah.
You're like, all right.
Man, a kid from Brooklyn, that's rap bait, man. I can rap to every single one of them.
Yeah, So it's kind of interesting, But well, Alex, I appreciate we kind of come up in our hour.
All right, man.
Kind of went fast. And thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support. And again, for folks out there in TV land, it's done by the Daniels Foundation for Impact Investment Development. And you can go to the website of the Daniels Foundation, daniels-foundation.org. And we're gonna let Alex go, but after this, I'm gonna give I have a new ending segment called Dr. KD's 2 cents. And so I'm gonna talk about everything that we just talked about is important. Now, I appreciate that. So thanks a lot.
All right, man. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
thanks, Alex. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right,
Peace.
peace. Okay, folks. So hopefully you enjoyed that segment with Dr. Alex Bostic. And I'm a little dark here today, but that's actually by design and purpose for have you to focus on what I'm saying rather than my visual image. And hopefully you got that segment of the value of art, the importance of art, art as a business, art is building self-esteem, art is awareness. And in the African American community and the urban communities, it's important to embrace art at an early age to develop the self-esteem of our young people. It's not just a budget item that can be cut and slashed in our public education schools, in your upbringing of our kids. When you see a young kid and a chance to harness him, and again, we think about this as my 2 cents. This segment is now called Dr. Kenny D's 2 cents. And as we think of 2 cents, the 2 cents is we like to think of small thoughts of wisdom that have some value. Clearly, as you heard, you listen to a world-renowned artist, Alex Bostic. Alex has got the benefit of art. He has no uh, duck to hunt or dog in this race of pushing art, other than to say that for him, I mean, he's made it. Why does he want to push it for everyone else? It's just more competition. Well, he knows, and I know, that there's some true benefit not only individually but communally. And like I said, you could probably do a study here show that the more art becomes impact in the community, crime goes down. Not that the crime should be an issue as we make synonymous with the African American community, but it's just an example. There are all kinds of positive, what we call externalities in finance and economics. There's an additional benefit beside the benefit of the original product, a derivative product. There are derivatives, and there's a whole value, and then under the underlying value are derivative things that are what we call partials, and they're almost like derivatives, like a mathematical derivative, and it's the addition. So there's the whole, and the additions leads to a multiplier effect. And in finance, you talk about a multiplier. So we don't need to get too deep, but all these things can be proven by practical example. They can be proven scientifically. They can be proven mathematically. These things matter. So I want to end on that note that we're now at the point of a critical juncture in our community that we need to step up and embrace things that matter. Things that matter are education. Things that matter are essentially fundamentals in terms of how you come to business that day. We don't come with our pants down. We don't tolerate that stuff anymore. We don't allow that in our community per se. Not that it's a bad thing all the time. It's done it very tastefully and it's done in certain minutia. But when it's done to a situation where it's having a negative impact, we got to call it. Same thing with rap music. We got to call it when it's a negative. So I want to end on my 2 cents there. Want to thank you for your time again today. I think you enjoyed Alex, and I enjoyed you. And again, looking for some financial support for the foundation. All these things take time and money, and you can find Alex's video podcast out on Facebook, my Facebook page at Kenneth Daniels, and on the YouTube page as Kenneth Daniels. But again, it also can be found at the foundation website, which is daniels-foundation.org. That's Daniels, Daniels dash foundation, foundation .org. Daniels-foundation.org. And really can need some support to step up. Doesn't matter. 10 cents, $5, $2. We really need some awareness of credibility that if you got $5 helps pays for a podcast. Just think about that. So hate to talk in the diminutive, but it's important to show support if you're liking these podcasts. And I need you, and hopefully you need me. And thank you very much. Enjoy your afternoon, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.